Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles. It started with a gut feeling, an itch beneath my skin that no amount of rationalizing could soothe. A sixth sense that something was off, something was wrong. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was just exhausted from the long work weeks, that my wife, Emily, was simply going through a phase. But I knew better. We had been married for 7 years. 7 years of whispered I love yous before bed, of holding hands under the dinner table, of laughter that felt like home. 7 years of believing we were solid. And then came the party. Emily had been talking about it all week. A fancy corporate gala at a high-rise downtown, hosted by her company. It's an important networking event, she had said, smoothing the creases on her dress with careful precision. You'll come, right? Something about the way she asked rubbed me the wrong way. Not because she wanted me there, but because she expected me to say no. Maybe that was why I said yes. I put on my best suit, smiled at her as we left the house together, and told myself that tonight would be normal, that I was just overthinking things. The moment we arrived, I felt like an outsider. The ballroom was a world of glittering chandeliers and polished marble floors, of men in expensive suits and women in sleek, form-fitting dresses. People laughed, clinked glasses, exchanged business cards. Emily disappeared into the crowd almost immediately, her hand slipping from mine without a second glance. I wandered, nursing my drink, making small talk with people whose names I forgot the second they walked away. But my mind wasn't on them. It was on her. Emily was across the room, wrapped in conversation with a man I didn't recognize. Tall, sharp features, designer suit that probably cost more than my car. The way he looked at her, it wasn't the way you look at a colleague. It was the way you look at a woman you've already had. I told myself I was reading into things. Until she laughed. Not the polite chuckle she used at work. Not the breathy giggle she gave when someone told a bad joke. Her real laugh. The one she used when she was completely comfortable, completely unguarded. The one she used with me. And then he touched her. A hand on her waist, fingers lingering just a second too long, thumb brushing against the small of her back in a way that sent a silent message. She didn't pull away. I was frozen in place. Heart hammering. Ears ringing. I waited for her to react, to step back, to shake her head, to laugh it off and look around for me. She didn't. Instead, she turned toward him. Closer. And then, I left. I didn't make a scene. I didn't walk up to them and demand an explanation. I just walked out. The cold night air hit me like a slap. I got into my car, sat there gripping the wheel for what felt like an eternity, my mind replaying the scene over and over again, dissecting every detail. The way her body angled toward him, the way he smiled down at her, the way her eyes, God, her eyes, shone with something I hadn't seen in a long time. Excitement. I drove home on autopilot, my thoughts a storm I couldn't contain. My hands shook as I unlocked the front door. I stepped inside, feeling the weight of an empty house settle onto my shoulders. Emily hadn't even noticed I was gone. The realization hit me harder than anything else. She hadn't looked for me. She hadn't called. She didn't care. I stood in our living room, staring at the framed photos of us on the walls, the memories frozen in time, mocking me. The anniversary trip to the mountains. The Christmas mornings wrapped in blankets, grinning like idiots. The honeymoon in Greece. I ran a hand over my face, breathed deep. I needed time to think. But one thing was already clear. Whatever we had, whatever I thought we had, was over. The knock came early the next morning. Soft, hesitant. I ignored it. Then another knock. Louder this time. I exhaled slowly. I already knew who it was. I pulled the door open. Emily stood on the porch, her face pale, mascara smudged beneath red-rimmed eyes. Her hair was a mess, her dress from the night before still clinging to her like a ghost of her sins. "Jason," she whispered, her voice raw. "Please." I didn't say anything, just leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. She swallowed, blinking rapidly. "You left. I didn't see you. I looked for you, I swear. But you." "Stop." I cut in, my voice cold. "Just tell me the truth." Her lower lip trembled. I waited. She looked down, hands twisting together. "It's not what you think," she murmured. "It was just a moment. Just a moment." I laughed. A harsh, humorless sound. "Emily, I stood there and watched you melt into another man's arms. That wasn't a moment. That was a choice." Tears welled in her eyes. "I was drunk. I wasn't thinking." I shook my head. "No. You knew exactly what you were doing." Silence. She stepped forward, reaching for me. I stepped back. Her breath hitched. "Jason, please. I love you." I let out a slow breath, leveling her with a look that stripped away every excuse, every lie. "No, Emily. You love the idea of me. You love the security I provide. You love knowing I'll always be here when things go wrong." She shook her head violently, tears spilling down her cheeks. "That's not true. It was a mistake." "No," I said softly. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning dinner. What you did, that was a choice." Her face crumpled. "I don't want to lose you." I studied her. This woman I had loved for years, and felt nothing but exhaustion. "You already did," I said, and closed the door. She pounded on it, sobbing. I walked away, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free. The sound of her sobs echoed through the door. I stood there for a moment, listening to the weight of her regret crash against the wooden frame like waves against a dam. But I didn't open it. Not yet. I wanted her to feel this. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the sobs quieted. A soft thump against the door. She had slid down onto the porch, defeated. "Jason." Her voice was hoarse, broken. "Please, just talk to me." I exhaled slowly, not out of hesitation, but out of sheer exhaustion. I had barely slept. I had barely thought beyond the last 12 hours. So, against my better judgment, I opened the door. She flinched at the sudden movement, looking up at me with wide, desperate eyes. Her makeup was ruined, her lips trembling. She looked nothing like the confident woman who had stood next to another man just hours ago, soaking in his attention, basking in his presence. And for the first time since I met her, I didn't feel a single ounce of sympathy. "Talk," I said, my voice devoid of warmth. She sniffled, wiped at her face with the back of her hand, and tried to compose herself. But there was no fixing this. No amount of carefully chosen words would glue back together what she had shattered. "I don't know how it happened," she started, her voice weak. "I swear to God, Jason, I wasn't planning on it. He's just someone from work. We've worked together for years, and it was never like this before. But things changed, and I don't know why." I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stay silent. "He started flirting with me a few months ago," she continued, eyes darting between my face and the floor, like she couldn't bear to look at me for too long. "At first, it was harmless, just stupid office banter. But then, I don't know, I guess I liked the attention. And last night," her voice cracked, "last night was the first time it went too far." I let out a bitter laugh. "The first time? Is that supposed to make it better?" I asked. "Like I should be grateful you didn't screw him sooner?" Her face contorted with shame. "No. I mean, God, Jason, I'm just trying to tell you the truth. I don't want to lose you." "Too late," I said simply. She shook her head violently. "No. No, it's not. Please, we can fix this. I love you. I love you so much. I made a mistake, but that's all it was, a mistake. It didn't mean anything." I exhaled slowly, gripping the doorframe to keep myself from exploding. "Emily, a mistake is something you trip over. A mistake is locking your keys in your car. A mistake is forgetting your anniversary. But what you did, that wasn't a mistake." Her eyes widened in horror, realizing where this was going. "That was a choice," I finished. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. She shook her head, tears spilling over again. "Please, you're my husband. We've been together for so long. Don't throw that away over one mistake." I felt something inside me snap. "I'm not throwing anything away," I said, my voice eerily calm. You did. She whimpered, reaching out to grab my wrist, but I pulled away. The sight of her broke me in a way I wasn't prepared for, because a part of me, the foolish, naive part, still wanted to believe her, still wanted to cling to the idea that she was my Emily, the woman I had married, the woman I had spent years building a life with. But she wasn't that woman anymore. She had killed that woman the moment she let another man touch her. I need time, I said finally. I don't want to see you right now. She opened her mouth to argue, but something in my face stopped her. I stepped back into the house, watching as realization settled into her bones. Where do I go? She whispered. I didn't answer. I just shut the door. The reflection. I spent the rest of the day alone. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't think straight. I wandered from room to room, my home now feeling like a museum of a life that no longer existed. Everywhere I looked, I saw pieces of her. Her jacket draped over the couch, her favorite mug still on the kitchen counter, her perfume lingering in the air. I wanted to scream, to rip it all apart. Instead, I grabbed my phone. I had one last thread to pull. The unexpected message. I wasn't sure what I was expecting when I messaged Alex Carter, the man from the party. Maybe I wanted confirmation. Maybe I wanted to hear him admit it, so I could shove it in Emily's face. Or maybe I just wanted to see if he would lie, too. I sent him a simple message. How long have you been sleeping with my wife? The response came almost instantly. What? Who is this? I gritted my teeth. Don't play dumb. I saw you two last night. I saw the way you touched her. There was a long pause. And then, I swear, I didn't know she was married. I frowned, my fingers hovering over the screen. Before I could reply, another message came through. She told me she was separated, that you guys had been living apart for months. The room tilted. My breath caught in my throat. No, 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 no. I read the words over and over again, trying to make them mean something else. But they didn't. Emily had been lying to me for far longer than I thought. She had been planning this, laying the groundwork for an affair while pretending to still love me. My hands clenched into fists. This wasn't just a drunken mistake. This was a betrayal months in the making. My mind whirled, rage and devastation battling for control. And just like that, the last thread of hope snapped. This wasn't a woman who had made a bad decision. This was a woman who had already decided she wanted out. She just hadn't told me yet. But now I was the one who was going to make the choice. And I was going to make damn sure she regretted ever thinking she could play me for a fool. Betrayal is like poison. At first, it seeps into your veins slowly, numbing everything in its path. But once it reaches your heart, the real pain begins. I sat in the dim light of my home, staring at my phone screen, Alex's words burning themselves into my memory. She told me she was separated, that you guys had been living apart for months. My mind raced, trying to pinpoint the exact moment she had decided I was no longer her husband. When had she started rewriting our story? When had she begun slipping out of our marriage while keeping me in the dark? I clenched my jaw. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. Emily had planned this, and now it was my turn to plan. The first step, exposing the truth. I knew Emily would be expecting me to sulk, to retreat into myself while she begged and cried and convinced me to forgive her. She thought she still had control. She was wrong. I picked up my phone and called Christine Carter, Alex's wife. It wasn't hard to find her. A quick search on social media, and there she was, a beautiful woman with warm eyes and 2 kids under 6. A woman who, like me, had no idea she was being played. I hesitated for only a moment before hitting dial. Hello. Her voice was polite, cautious. Christine, my name is Jason. I exhaled sharply. I don't know how to say this, but I think you need to know that your husband has been having an affair with my wife, Emily. Silence. I could hear her breathing, sharp and uneven. Are you sure? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I saw them together last night, I said, and I confronted Alex. He admitted to it but said Emily told him we were separated. A harsh breath escaped her. That son of a... She cut herself off, and when she spoke again, her voice was eerily calm. Do you have proof? Oh, I had proof. I sent her the pictures from the party, the ones I had taken when Emily thought I wasn't looking. She didn't respond for a long time, and then, thank you. Leave the rest to me. There was something in her voice, something that told me Alex was about to regret ever touching my wife. And that was just the beginning. The second step, cutting her off. I wasn't the type of man to destroy someone out of spite. But I also wasn't the type to let someone walk all over me. Emily thought she could keep me as a backup plan while she explored her options. She thought she could hold onto the comfort of our marriage while indulging in her secret life. That ended now. I spent the next few hours working on what mattered most, ensuring she had nothing left to hold on to. Emily had always relied on me financially. Sure, she worked, but I had built our life, our home, our savings. So I locked her out. I froze our joint credit cards, moved every last dime from our shared savings into my personal account, and contacted a lawyer to start drafting divorce papers. When I was done, I sent Emily a message. You have 2 days to collect your things. After that, your key won't work. Her reply came almost immediately. Emily, Jason, please, don't do this. We can fix this. We? There is no we. There's just you and your bad decisions. Emily, I made a mistake. I love you. I don't want to lose you. I smiled bitterly. You lost me the moment you told him we were separated. She didn't reply. She knew she was caught. The final step, letting her fall. The real fun began that evening. Christine had done exactly what I hoped she would. She confronted Alex at his office. Apparently, she had stormed in during a meeting, slammed the pictures onto the conference table, and demanded to know why he had thrown away their marriage for a woman who couldn't even be honest about her own. Alex, in his infinite arrogance, had tried to deny it, until Christine handed him divorce papers right there in front of his colleagues. But the real kicker? Christine had connections. She wasn't just some clueless housewife. She was the daughter of the company's biggest client. By the time Alex got home that night, he was unemployed. I had to give her credit. She didn't just end their marriage. She ended him. And Emily? She was about to get her own taste of karma. The fallout. It happened the next morning. A frantic banging on my door. I opened it to find Emily standing there, hysterical. Her hair was a mess, her eyes bloodshot. Jason, she gasped. Please, I need to talk to you. I crossed my arms. You have 2 minutes. Her hands twisted together. Alex, he got fired. Christine is divorcing him. Everything is falling apart. She looked up at me, realization dawning. Did you do this? I tilted my head. I didn't force you to sleep with another man. I didn't tell you to lie to him about our marriage. I didn't tell Christine to destroy his career. That was all you. She choked back a sob. I don't have anywhere to go. And there it was. She had been so sure she could keep everything, that she could gamble with our marriage and still walk away with a safety net. But she had lost. And now she was alone. I didn't say anything. I just stepped back and shut the door. Her cries echoed through the hallway. But I didn't look back. For the first time in a long time, I was free. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.